I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life integration.
If you want more freedom from your agency, you're going to have to give up something that most agency owners are terrified of giving up, and that's control. And my guest today deliberately ran some tests to make sure that his agency could support his life and support that freedom.
I like to say this also to business owners: you can't have 100% control and 100% freedom at the same time. If you want to put your hands on the steering wheel, then guess what? You're the one driving. So you've got to slowly let go.
Hey, Vlad, how you doing today?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I'm busy, which I like to say is good.
Well, I'm on the road, so I've got a little bit of different scenery here. Tell me about your agency and kind of how you got started in it.
We started as a generalist agency, but really we specialize in fire, water damage restoration. And that is really what we do. It's actually on my shirt as well. Restoration Inbound, that's the brand. We started out as Logic Inbound and we made the transition. We work with about 40 fire, water damage restoration companies today. And my vision is to scale this thing up to 150. It's pretty nice because we also get home service clients in. So I'm thinking that's going to be a natural evolution as time goes on.
It's funny. We'll talk a little bit about growing an agency. So there's kind of like you're growing an agency. Most people think of revenue and they focus on revenue is in growth. And that comes from, new sales or existing client upgrades.
Yes.
So when you start thinking about the role that you've played over the years and maybe continue to play and how those roles have changed, maybe because we all do this as entrepreneurs, you wear multiple hats and then your hat, you wear fewer and fewer and fewer, and you get to the point where you have one role.
Yeah, I like to joke. I like to say all my hats are on that tree right there. I wear a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, for sure. So tell me how your roles have changed and where do you see yourself in the next year to two?
Right. Beautiful question. Because, when you first start, you're like, these bigger companies, what are they really even doing? But really, it's the hats. You're paying for all the different roles. You don't know, right? You don't know that with a team of you and your founder, your partner, or just by yourself. You're like, how hard is it? It's really hard, right? Because to do a job exceptionally well, it takes a full-time effort. So I can't manage accounts full-time and think about client strategy and marketing tactics and AI and everything full-time versus sales full-time versus how are we getting our leads and creating great marketing campaigns. So when I first started out, luckily my cousin who started this company with me, I call him my little brother. Basically, he was running the campaigns. I was doing account management and I would be looking for business all day, right? And then as time went on, I hired my first account manager. That was kind of our next transition. We had some people helping my cousin with operations, right? So then he kind of started taking that off his plate. So it would be account manager between me and him. We knew that I was going to be more sales and marketing the agency, and he was just going to be on operations and delivery and then back end, right? So it's like when you think of a business, right, there's probably about 4, you could argue 7 different departments, depending on how you want to slice them, right? There's the easiest way is somebody runs sales and marketing. The other one runs operations and back end kind of office practices, right? Now you could slice them a little bit more: leadership, legal. And I imagine as organization grows, you slice them up even thinner, right? So when you start, right, you're wearing all 4 hats. If you're solo, when you have 2 partners, right, that you do it the way we did. So I remember I hired my first account manager, and it's my favorite because this is my first time like hiring and managing an employee, and I was just pushing her so hard. We never even took a break. We never took a lunch break. Poor lady, man. So I remember that story because I was breaking up with my ex. I'm married now, so I love my wife to death, but I was breaking up with my ex, and my ex was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And we were like in the middle of a breakup, and I didn't want to show weakness. So I was like, "It's going amazing." And in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. So this poor gal on the other side that I was training, I was basically training her up, and I forgot to just even do a lunch break for her. So just 7 hours nonstop for onboarding. And I could see kind of like she was like quiet, but she didn't tell me what she was thinking. And I will tell you this, after that first day shift, I never heard back from that account manager ever again.
Well, and you kind of learned the lesson of employees don't work like owners do. That doesn't mean they don't work hard. It doesn't mean they don't work hard, but they're not incented like you.
Yeah.
So now fast forward, you're hiring an account manager, you're bringing in a fractional executive as an integrator, kind of an operations person.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about freedom, because you also have some stuff going on in your personal life with another business opportunity. And
Yep.
this is where I love to get to, because in order to, and I'll let you explain it here, but what you're doing a little bit, in order to get to the place where you can make that move, you really have to see your business as an asset, and you have to get to a place where you have the headspace and the time back to work on those other personal things. And your personal thing happens to be another entrepreneurial venture. Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah. Great question. So my wife, I love her to death. And when I met my wife, I was telling her, you know, I'm going to stop working. She said, never. I said, yeah, when I die. So I love business. I love talking about business. So what we did, one thing that makes, and you know, your personal relationships, especially your significant other, obviously it's a big part of your work life, especially as a business owner, because if you get a call in the middle of the night, right, what are they going to say? Hey, don't take it. Or maybe they're going to say it's date time. There's different ways that people can be supportive and not supportive, right? I'm very lucky. My partner's very supportive. And that really does impact I like to say your personal life impacts your work life and vice versa. So we would read business books together. And so she's interested in buying and running a home service business. So that's a specialty we have, obviously, in the restoration industry. So the cool part about my agency is with my partners and how everything's set up, I was able, a year ago, we got married. Last November, I took a whole month off. And so I spent time in Japan with her. And we were, you know, we were basically stress testing the company, making sure that everything is not just reliant on Vlad, which it's not. So my partners are very supportive there, right? And so with their blessing, I'm now helping her buy her own business. And we're going to see how the company is going to get plugged in. But obviously the marketing expertise I have and the leadership experience, et cetera, that's going to help her a lot. You know, we've saved money. The other thing is I would definitely say there's a much bigger difference in terms of time commitment of buying a business versus starting. When you start, you have to wear all these hats. If you buy, right, you're going in, and yes, you have to work super hard, but people are already wearing hats in, right? You're already buying a team.
Well, it's funny because everybody has a choice, right? And I always talk about, when I use the word freedom, that can mean a bunch of things to a bunch of different people. In your case, it means helping your wife buy another business, and helping her with it, because you've learned some things in the agency space about running a business, which is really cool. So that is I would call that a source of freedom, or a type of freedom that you get to have because you put things in place so that you had that time, that your agency is an asset that allows for you to have that time.
Yes.
Now, my question is, did you and your wife always have that plan, or was it more of an opportunistic kind of thing? Like,
yeah, I wish I envisioned every single thing, right? And I don't. And so basically, and if I saw the future, right, then I wouldn't worry half as much as I do, right? Like I'll sleep like 6-7 hours thinking about all these, and I think a lot. Like I'm a thinker, and I probably overthink. And I have a saying, it's always better to overthink than underthink. So that's not great, right? But basically, yeah, when I talk to the first thing is, right, like I wouldn't just marry a wife if she didn't like business, right? But I was lucky that she did. A lot of our values align. So, you know, that was a big deal, right? So when I first was with her, right, like she worked a government job, and it was a great job, right? It was one of those jobs where literally you have to go into the office only 3 days a week, and they'll pay you close to $100,000 salary, right? So,
yeah.
and I say her job is as close to golden handcuffs as possible, because, you know, if you don't like work on Monday, well, you know, forget it. The person in the workplace, you don't got to see them again tomorrow, right? And then, okay, I got to go back again on Wednesday, but then guess what? I have Thursday off. I go work from home, so it's really easy. And then Friday, et cetera. Now, this whole company is actually remote. I don't know if we actually, I don't think we mentioned that, right? So she saw what I was doing, and I said, well, if you want to run something remote, right, you're going to either have to join a company and hope the culture is great, or you can buy a company and then you can be, you know, one of the founders, and you can help dictate the culture, and you can have something that suits your lifestyle more. So there's a great book called The Lifestyle Business Owner out there. A mentor of mine, I bumped into him, named Aaron Muller. He's also a business broker. he wrote that. And so we followed the book, and now we're reading other books on buying businesses, and I think this would be a good fit for her because she's got a head for it, right? Not many people know what working capital is, right? So you got to learn these things, and she's passionate enough to do that.
What's interesting is it sounds like you're leveraging your experience with your agency to create the life that you want.
100%.
And that doesn't happen by just rolling out of bed every morning. You have to architect it a little bit. So,
of course,
when you and your wife started to explore this, how did you approach your partners, and what were some of the things you guys talked about and went through?
Oh, this is great. Yeah. This is beautiful. So my partners, we actually have something I highly advocate for called a co-founder feedback meeting every 2 weeks. It's not a management meeting. It's just, hey, what's going on in your life? How are you doing? Because I always tell everyone the whole world could be on fire, but if the founders or the partners of the company are all in lockstep, that company's not going to go. The company technically ends when you guys stop working together, right? Or when So we had that meeting. So the conversation of, hey, my wife's here, I'm going to help her buy a business. Obviously I'm going to be involved in it, et cetera. Like, that was very effortless for me because I think I protect my partner relationships, a lot. I think that's really, one of the most important relationships you have. I even call them sometimes after hours just to check in on them. And I think that's important. So we've been building that for the last, I'm going to say 7 years.
So, but when you first had the idea with your wife, it wasn't like you had any of that planned out with your business partners. And when we say, I just tell the audience, everybody I think knows this, but when we say business partners, what that means is you have a certain percentage of equity ownership in that business. And when that business kicks out profits every quarter, some people do it differently. We always do it every quarter, but when that business kicks out profit, you reinvest that profit or that capital into the business. You take some of it because you own that equity, whatever percentage that is. And in a lot of cases, what I've been able to do is see to it that owners live off of those dividends.
100%.
And if you can get to that place, that's a great place because then you can go take savings and do things like invest it in other businesses.
Yes.
Or start new ventures. But you always have to make sure that the business, the agency that you're running is supported in the way that they need you as a partner. So looking back, when you guys first came up with it, what were those conversations like with your partners? Did you go, hey, I'm going to go start a new business with my wife or buy a new business with my wife, and I need half my time to go do that?
No. So to be really clear, I'm spending about 40 hours a week in the if you guys haven't read the book Rework I'm a big reader, by the way. I don't know if you guys tell, but I can name like 10 more books. But Rework by Jason Fried, he talks about, now we'll probably all work 60, 80 hours, but really if we had to cut back, we can. So here's how that developed, actually. This is a great question. So the first thing I did was I took a 2-week vacation. This is like 3.5, 4 years ago. And some of you business owners can't even imagine this. I took 2 weeks away from the business. So we have 3 partners, one goes, right? So I say, hey guys, and I was scared, right? It's like 2 weeks away from the business. Holy Toledo, like what's going to happen, right? So I did that. The company kept running. Now what's cool about that, if you take a 2-week vacation, it forces the other partners to step into your roles, right? Then when I came back, I told my partner, my cousin, I said, hey, you take a 2-week vacation now. And now we're going to step in and cover all your roles. Then our partner, Evan, he had an opportunity to go to Italy. We said, hey, you're going to go. You're going to take a vacation. You're going to Italy, right? And then he was concerned, right? Every time you do it, you're scared, right? Yeah. But that was 3.5 years ago. So we all took a turn doing that. But that's how you know the company is really positioned well, so that if somebody has to reduce hours or change have a vacation, et cetera, right? Everything keeps flowing. Now, the cool part about having partners cover for you is they're a bit more knowledgeable. I mean, you could do the same thing with employees, though. You're just going to need a bit more training. So I would suggest like a silent, like I would even do like, I remember I did like 3-4 days of, okay, guys, I'm going to pretend like I'm not here and I'm on vacation right now. How's the company doing? Right. And I'm just kind of there. It's like watching, I don't have any kids, but maybe watching your kid ride a bicycle and they got training wheels on, but you're like, okay, I'm not going to hold them anymore. Right. Are they going to drown? So we did that. And so over the years, as we did that, they became a lot more comfortable with us being more flexible on our time. So now you go from 100 hours and you're scared to, hey, I'm going to work a normal 40-hour work week. And the other thing that I will tell you is, I'm a bit crazy. Everybody will tell you that, but I don't believe in work-life balance. A friend of mine also actually says this is where I took it from. I believe in work-life integration. So like for me, I'm always working, but also I'm always spending time with friends. So like my friends are entrepreneurs, etc. So like today I'm going to be going to a barbecue. He's a former client of mine, so I can do some business development, but also we're going to be having a barbecue. We can talk about personal things. And that's the coolest thing, Tony, is, if me and you, we go out to a restaurant, we spend 15 minutes, talking about business, and then the other 45 talking about the Seahawks. That's a business write-off. So I integrated, and I think that's what positioned me for success over time. And anybody out there who's interested in this, I would say start with those 2 weeks. And that's scary, those first 2 weeks. And then it led me to that month. Once you take a whole month off, they're like, you know what? Why are you even coming back here? Like, get out of here. You're slowing me down.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another phase where, and this is a lot of people, this is why I built the 5 archetypes or identity types for agencies, because what happens when your team gets to a place where they can function without you, it doesn't mean you're not valuable. It doesn't mean they don't care, but they're actually better without you, which is hard to understand and scary.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're like, what is my value if I can't get my hands in and fix stuff and do things and direct and blah, blah, blah. And you really have to prepare yourself for it, because there's a bunch of things outside of your agency that if you don't prepare yourself mentally for it, you could ruin things. You could jump back into the agency and start messing with it. And by the way, you're the boss, you're the owner, you have every right to do that, but not if you really want a business that operates without you.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I learned is when I transferred out of one of my agencies, and I was like, I still get a quarterly check, but I don't have to show up. They do it all. Now I check in with them every quarter to just see how things are going. Or if I see something and I'm thinking about them, I'll shoot them a text and it's like, hey, thinking about you. So you still it's not like you just take the hands completely off the wheel, but you're no longer needed to make decisions, to decide what to do, to fix things, and it's a great place to be, but it takes some getting used to once you do it.
We should definitely, I think it would be valuable, because I remember, like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, but I remember year 6, year 7 thinking about this even, And by the way, if you guys are in year 1 or year 2, I think you can't really do this. You have to grow the years, I would say 1 through 3, maybe it depends, right? How fast you're growing. But if you have a team of 1 or 2, good luck, right? But I had like I said, we have a team total of about 17, right? So we have a team we can rely on. If somebody's sick, somebody else can cover for them.
Yeah.
But these are the 3 things I'd like you to maybe, Tony, I know I'm not supposed to interview you, but you can maybe give me your top 3. But the top 3 things I did to be independent was, number 1, I told the team, and I always tell this, and I repeat this a lot. In leadership, I like to say, if I am not tired of repeating it, then I haven't said it enough. So if you're 70% sure, don't ask, just do the thing. If you get in trouble, all we're going to ask you is, what is your good reason? You just need to have 1 or maybe ideally 2 good reasons for doing something, right? And so like one of our team members, he was concerned, but he gave a client an hour for free, right? But that client ended up being happy, ended up paying us more money, and we applauded him in the wins channel. So the first thing is a 70% rule. So I implemented that. That was probably year 5, the 70% rule. The second thing is 2 weeks, take 2 weeks off, and then slowly, in the next quarter, in 6 months, say, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to take another vacation, right? And you can increase that with time. That's the second thing I did but it starts with the 2 weeks. And then the last thing I did was with my partners, we do a feedback session to make sure that our relationship's really strong, right? Because it starts with trust. If you don't have trust, you don't have anything, at least for me in business, right? What about you? What would your top 3 be, Tony, if people are interested in gaining more freedom and flexibility? I would say flexibility more than freedom in our company.
Hey, thank you for watching today's video. Wanted to take a little break here and ask you something. If you are a marketing agency owner and you're feeling successful about what you're doing in your agency, you're making money, things are going well, but you feel a little bit trapped and you're kind of searching for that next thing, that next big thing to solve, I just encourage you to stop for a second. And before you decide what to do next, learn your agency owner archetype. It's free. It teaches you about your personality and your identity and why your identity keeps you in a loop of making the same move over and over again, and makes it so that you and your agency are kind of stuck in the same place. Anyway, it's a great report. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Get your agency owner archetype today, and thanks for watching. First of all, your statement about having your business in a place where it can afford to try this or afford to be ready. I think once you get to about 1.5, 1.4, you know, there's not everything's in place. There's a bunch of missing pieces and a bunch of things to work on, but you're at a place where money wise, if you've handled it well, and you don't have a ton of debt and you're doing okay and you have built trust. So there's a foundation that you have to, so the thing that I had to figure out is I asked myself the question, what do I want this agency for? Because right now I'm fast forwarding up until like back then I was asking, like, I have a job, I have a good job. It's fun. It's challenging, but it's not what I want. So I want to scale. I want to see this thing still grow. How do I do that? How do we do that as a leadership team? And the first thing is kind of assess who you have in your corner to do that. Do you have partners like Vlad or, you know, and I had a partner. By the way, this is the other thing that you should recognize. If you don't have a partner or someone that understands what it's like to be an owner, it's really hard to lean all the way in on somebody.
Yeah, you need a really strong number two at minimum.
Yeah, you need a real strong number two, and I've built a living off of being that number two. And it's how I earned in equity on several agencies. So the other thing, so you've got to assess who your leaders are, right? And what they want. Because maybe they just want a job and they don't want to take on that responsibility. So who do you have? The other thing is, how are they incentivized? If you leave, are they set up to be incentivized to handle all this accountability and responsibility and authority? A lot of mistake agency owners make is they'll hand over the responsibility, but not the authority. And that just handcuffs people. So you have to get yourself mentally ready to take those leaders and hand them the authority and the responsibility and the incentives that are clear. So what it's like, okay, I think I could do that. I think we can structure it this way. Then you have to coach them up. You have to prepare them. You become way more of a coach than you ever thought you would. So your job goes from doing to thinking strategically and then coaching. And like any good coach, it's almost like being a parent sometimes, where you, like you said it earlier, if I haven't repeated myself 3 times, it probably didn't sink in. And there's this job switch that happens where you turn into this coach. You have to be positive. You have to be supportive. You have to push. You have to educate. All those things that come into being a coach. And you sometimes look at that and go, right in the middle, I remember going, I didn't sign up for this. Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But then the one powerful thing about empathy is I have to put myself in their shoes. They're an employee. They don't own, they don't get a dividend check. So how do you properly incentivize them? And it's starting to, when I went through that process, I really understood the value of investing in people.
Yeah, 100%.
Good people are expensive.
Yeah. And good people have better returns, though. That's the thing, right? I remember the first time I paid one of my guys 6 figures. I was like, wow, I'm going to pay this guy 6 figures for I was like, because I was always nickel and diming, you know, like
Yeah.
first I was like 15 an hour. Then I was like 20. I was like, maybe you can do 25, right? And obviously it varies by location, if you're going with overseas teams, et cetera. But I think it's really important to have clear compensation models, but also different people are motivated by different things. And I think for those of you who like to start businesses, right, or want to be crazy visionaries, right, you have to realize not everybody's like you. And that's what makes the world beautiful, right? That's what makes it a great world, because we need somebody to run a hot dog stand, and we need somebody to, drive cars, and we need somebody else to fix cars and be a doctor and all that. And so different people have different attractions. And so listening to your team members and thinking about them, I think, is one of the best ways to incentivize them. Some people, it's just money. Some people, and money, by the way, what does that mean, though? That's the other thing for incentivizing people, because one of my team members, she's like, I want more money. And I was like, well, what does that mean? She was like, well, I want my kids to be able to go to college. So when I'm motivating her, I don't say, hey, let's make you more money. I go, hey, when if you close this deal, that's another dollar we can put towards Sally's college fund. And that motivates her 10 times more, because you're reminding them of their goals and their vision, and that can get them to run harder. And then obviously also, I think a disease of small businesses, Tony, I think you might agree or disagree with me, is they don't ever hold people accountable. Yeah, that's a lot. I remember I was and I'd love for you to get your perspective on this, but I remember I was part of this Goldman Sachs 10,000 small business program, and we both had team members who weren't doing what we wanted them to do. We did a role play just like this. We did a role play of, okay, you're going to be the person, I'm going to be me, I'm giving you the feedback. They might argue, whatever. So he was my person, right? Then I pretended to be his guy. His friend, who we knew for many years, would come to work late and drunk every morning. Wow. And so we did the role plays. I was like, great. You're going to talk to your person, I'm going to talk to mine. Then next week we meet up. He's like, Vlad, how'd it go? I was like, oh, it was great. She responded. She's turning it around. Hey, Bob, how'd it go? His name is Bob. And that's all I'm going to say. That's his real first name, but otherwise I'm not going to tell you. So Bob was like, Vlad, I didn't talk to them. I was like, what? I was like, wait, we did the role play. We did the whole exercise for 30 minutes. He said, Vlad, let's leave it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, leave it, Vlad. And I was like, man, this is a small business owner.
Well, back to those 5 identity types. So people pleaser, when you're a people pleaser, if that's your inclination, this isn't like the DISC assessment or, this is not about behavior. It's about identity, how you see yourself and why you're that way. And it takes from those others. But what I found when I started coaching people, either in the agency leadership spot or the leadership team, or as I coach my own people when I was in agencies, you really have to understand how they identify themselves. Mm-hmm. Am I a firefighter? Do I always rise to the occasion, but then I might start my own fires to put them out? Mm-hmm. Am I the people pleaser that wants everybody to do well, but when it comes to holding somebody accountable, that's one of the most difficult things, because I'm all about being social. Mm-hmm. I want people to get along, and
I want them to like me too.
Yes, right. So, the psychology of things really plays into this. What I'm hoping people get out of this conversation, Vlad, is that it's possible. You and I met, it's probably 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's possible to take a business from sub 1 million to over 7 figures, and to a place where, as the owner, you can have some freedom and some time back. If you play your cards right. It's totally possible.
Yeah. And I like to say this also to business owners: you can't have full 100% control and 100% freedom at the same time. So if you want to put your hands on the steering wheel, then guess what? You're the one driving. So you've got to slowly let go. And so you can't have 100% control and 100% freedom. You've got to basically let people make their own mistakes. You don't You don't have to fix every single thing.
But you don't, you know, the old adage, you don't want to put your 2 feet on 2 different boats,
Yes.
you know, because then they float apart.
Yes.
You're in the drink. So
Yes.
some really good stuff on this, Vlad. I really appreciate your time and just having this conversation. And it sounds like you've got a lot of good things going right now, and I wish you the best. I hope that all turns out for you, and you know, I know it will.
Yes, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much, Tony.